Good morning. It is 11 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, and this is our very first Ignite method. I'm very excited about it. We have 6 plus a 7th surprise modules over the course of the next 6 to 7 weeks, and I am super excited about it. So I'm going to just kind of get going here. I believe I've covered everything. And I'm going to explain to you kind of the rules and how we're going to do things, and work with me because this is new and I'm not sure it'll be perfect. It'll be more value than you paid for, that part I promise. But at the end of the day, I'm sure there'll be I'm sure I misspelled something somewhere, which I hope I didn't, because that bothers me more than anything. So as we get started, know and understand that we are recording this content so that we can use this for you to come back and watch at any time. And you get it in perpetuity. In addition, you get the forums. And I'm going to take you through how the forums work in a bit so that you understand that. So let's get started. Before we get started, a quick primer on how this event will work online. So if you've attended a Studemy webinar, you've seen this before. When you have a question, write it down or go right to Q&A. At the bottom of your Zoom window, there's Q&A. There's also chat. There's also a place to raise your electronic hand. And why don't everybody please raise their electronic hand real quick? I want to just make sure you all know where that is. Perfect. Okay, great. You guys are pros at this. Now, remember that as we go through this process, please be aware of the fact that part of what we're teaching is this is the method that you will use through online remote bookkeeping. Most of you are doing that today, and if you're not, you will, or you're considering it. If you absolutely have no desire to ever do that, then whatever, it won't matter. But some of the things that I'll be doing as we continue through the program is I'll be eating my own dog food, as I like to say, using this particular platform to demonstrate ways for you to be able to use it as you progress in your career. So as the questions come to mind, please put them in Q&A. I prefer you don't use chat. Use chat for chat. And remember that chat is public and everybody can see it. Q&A is only visible to me. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that you use Q&A for the questions regardless. And if you want to just have a kibitz with the group, I won't necessarily be able to look over all that often, but you can use chat as you wish. And please do not hesitate to say stop or raise your hand or whatever you want to do to get my attention if you feel like I went through something too fast or it's just not sinking in. And I guarantee you, this is one thing I learned in school. When you were sitting in school and you wanted to raise your hand, but you were timid in doing so because, now I don't know that you're all like that, but I was, believe it or not. And you're timid from raising your hand because you think that your question isn't necessarily worthy, or you think it's dumb. You know, I feel dumb because I'm asking a question. Everybody else seems to get it. Well, guess what? More than half the room hasn't a clue. They all want you to raise their hand, but they're just as scared as you are. Raise your hand. If you raise your hand and make me reiterate something, everybody will benefit from it. If you do it too often, I'll put an end to it. So don't worry, okay? Just interact, engage, ask me questions, get the most out of this that you possibly can. So my name is Eric Greenspan. For those of you that don't know me well, I have been building businesses all of my life. It started off with newspaper routes and lemonade stands on the golf course in Palm Springs. Lemons were free. You could pick them anywhere. Mom supplied the sugar and the cups. And I've just continued building businesses because I am unemployable. What does unemployable mean? Well, I don't like the way other people run businesses typically, and I get frustrated when I work within another company. IBM was my first real job, and I just, shut my mouth and learned, and I really absorbed a lot of it. But I ran my own little program because during the time I was at IBM, they were letting 44,000 people go, and I don't think they noticed what I was up to, but it worked out well. I went ahead and got my QuickBooks certification because I wanted to work with people that are in my niche. We're going to talk about that today. So that because I have such a vertical focus and a niche business, I got my certification, which I have to renew in May, because I wanted to make sure that I understood what it is you're sharing with me when we're in discussion. I just thought it was a good idea. I've also been to TED, and that is an extraordinary experience. And I've run a couple of TEDx conferences, which is the independent, locally run TEDs. And I'm an Insightly hero, mainly because I'm a tech geek, and that's just something that they gave me. And I like Insightly. It does a lot of stuff for our companies and our clients. So that's who I am. I run these companies. And I always start my webinars and any of this where there's any kind of igniting or motivation with these 4 questions. And I'm going to bring all 4 of them up so you can analyze them, and I'll go through them. So the first one is, are you achieving all of your goals? And what that means specifically is, do you reach some sort of level of satisfaction within your career every day? Maybe every hour. One of my goals today was finishing this presentation, hitting a certain sales limit for the people that are in this event. And ironically, people who paid for this aren't here. They may have to miss the first one, and they'll watch it in the rerun. But in any event, finishing for today was my first accomplishment. Doing this and getting to the end of it and being a successful presentation for you will be my next goal. As I progress throughout the day, I set little goals for myself to achieve the ultimate goal. And that's very important because that's what makes me run to my desk. That's what makes me want to get up and go and do things. You've got to make sure you do that in your mind throughout the day. So is it tackle that trouble client, or is it get that person to pay, or is it finish that project, file those papers, take your kid to the dentist? Whatever it is you have to do, each one of them is a stepping stone in a series of goals. And ultimately there's the big goal, which is hitting a home run, closing a new deal, getting a big check in, buying a house, all the different things that we want to do, put our kids through college. So the next one is very important because good clients, it's an interesting phenomenon. First, let's start with what bad clients are. And you all have a bad client. And there's an acronym that's quite popular in our industry and maybe everywhere else. It's PITA, P-I-T-A, pain in the tuchus, as my father would say. So when you have bad clients, it just derails you, it brings you down. It affects your whole day, just like a great client can, which lifts you. If you have a great client, that client is going to make you better for all your other good clients. If all of your clients are great, you're going to lose your mind, right? So at the end of the day, what I really want to make sure you do is recognize the difference and work towards getting good clients. Now, don't go out and fire all your bad clients if that's going to affect your ability to pay your bills. But progress towards building up a good client base. And then when you can afford to, raise the rates on the bad ones so that they'll disappear quietly. And if they won't go away and they really need, I had a client once that was so belligerent, so mean, he was evil. He did terrible things to his staff, to me, to himself. He was just an awful man. I just one day looked at him and I said, "You're nuts." And I walked out the door. I never talked to the guy again. He paid me a lot of money every month. And for some reason, he thought that it was okay to behave that way. Well, it's not. Okay, now we don't always have that extreme of a client situation, but there are differences, and those nuances between good and bad are important. And you need to make sure that you are working towards good and starting to work away from the bad. And it's relative. getting to the best clients possible. And it doesn't mean you just want 3 high-paying customers, because at that point, you're at risk of losing 1/3 of your income should their business change or whatever might happen. So because in your industry, you're having a lot of clients is the norm, find good ones. And there's different ways to define that, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Are you making enough money? Raise your hand if you are uncomfortable with charging people more money, or uncomfortable with, you don't have to raise your hand, but think about it. Does it bother you to charge what somebody else charges who is doing well and is providing a good service to their clients? Does it frustrate you to know that that person charges more than you do, and you're just not willing to raise your rates to meet that because either you don't feel you're worthy, or you don't think you're good enough, or you don't think it's right? Something in your gut just says, you know what, it's not right for me to overcharge this person. Well, what is overcharge? Where do you come up with the numbers anyhow? Well, it's real simple, okay? You've got bills to pay. You've got to feed yourself and put your kids through college. The 10 Commandments for entrepreneurs and the Greenspan Manifesto, which is at 74systems.com, which we will talk about in another session, is something that I wrote that talks about this process. And at the end of the day, it says something to the effect of, can you get the best health insurance available? Do you upgrade your room to the better view? Do you fly first class because the food's better, it's more comfortable, and flying is awful? Okay, or at least economy plus. Do you upgrade your life to get better experiences and enjoy it more? Does that make you uncomfortable? It should not. If you work towards building your life, and you don't ever have to feel guilty for making money, because if you make a ton of money, like all of our billionaires recently did, they gave it all away. Go for it. Make all the money you possibly can, and then give it all away to charity if that doesn't work for you. But at the end of the day, look at what good you can do. But my real focus for you is to make enough money so that you can put your kids through the proper school, and you can sleep well at night, and you can take care of your health, and you can do the things that you need to do. We went to a fundraiser. I was the DJ on Saturday night, and we watched people raise their hands during the ask. And I would have loved to have raised my hand when they said, would you like to donate, $10,000 or $7,500? And I just wasn't in a position that night to do it. And there was only a couple people in the room that could, and only one of them actually raised their hand. And ironically, you look at that situation and you think, wow, I make a really good living, but should I need to be able to be that person in the room that provides the school with $7,500, the top tier? No, I don't have to be that guy. But I definitely want to be the guy when they got down to the $1,000 and the $500 range, where everybody started raising their hands, and ultimately at $100, where they joked that this is the mad dash to write down the numbers because everybody puts their hand up at $100. Well, I want to be that guy that's in between. And I want to be able to give to my school because it's important to help my children with their education. So making money needs to equate to those things that are important to you: health, education, good food, travel, and better amenities for living your life. And at the end of the day, if you get on an airplane and it's fun to fly first class, because it is, it's way more fun to fly first class than it is to fly coach. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You get better service, you get better food, you get better seats, you get better. Everything is better. It's just better. It's more fun to fly first class. It's why people often do it on their weddings. But you should, and you don't need to upgrade to first class on a 2-hour trip to Vegas. I'm just saying, if it's fun, focus on how you're going to achieve it. That's part of the fun. But in general, do you have fun at work? Raise your hand if you have fun at work. I like it. I like it. I like it. Yeah, you're probably a fun bunch, or you wouldn't be hanging out with me, right? Okay, so at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Do you do what you love? And we're going to cover that topic in today's module. before I do that, I want to make sure you guys understand what you did and where you are. There's two programs. There's the Ignite program. I had a couple of people ask me, did I sign up for the right thing? And it was funny because the Ignite method actually stimulated Ignite program sales. Ignite program is when you hire us. You may want us afterwards. After Ignite method lifts you and your business starts to grow, you may need help. So the Ignite program is where you hire us as an outsourced marketing team, co-CEO, co-CMO, and you pay us on an ongoing basis as a consultant. The Ignite method, which we're doing right now, is online, as we're doing here, in a group format. It's self-paced. It's 6 weeks. Originally was you get access to the content for 12 months, but we've changed that. We're going to give it to you in perpetuity, and you just pay once. For those of you that took advantage of our finance option, first you can thank Angela Rust for that idea, my significant other and business partner. She thought, there might be some people out there that could benefit from a payment program. Let's give it to them. So we did that last minute, and it was, wow, a lot of response. So we're going to help you through with Ignite method. We're not looking to sell you on Ignite program. That's not why we put this up here. If you need us, you'll need us, but we're quite busy. That's the difference. I want to make sure you understood it. All right, today's agenda is very similar to what you will see in the forums and online and in the program that you purchased. And it's these 6 bullet points, and we are going to go through them systematically. We will not be taking a break. You, of course, can. You can go do whatever you wish to do. I will be here through to the end. I will try to not run long, although we do have a lot to cover. And if we do have a lot of questions, which I don't expect we're going to have a lot because I'm going to cover things really well. And generally, people seem to understand what I'm saying, but we'll see. So we're going to talk about, are you doing what you love? That's our first discussion. And then we're going to move on to brand positioning. Telling your story. Telling your story, I wonder. So I'm going to turn on a fan, and I'm going to ask somebody in chat to let me know, is that sound distracting? Can you even hear it? Perfect. Thanks. You guys are great. All right, so it's because I have a really good microphone. We'll talk about technology a little bit. That might be in our surprise week. So telling your story is a very important one. We're going to go into some different ways to do that and how to really build that brand of yours. No matter how strong your brand is, it can always be stronger. So let's try to work together on that. And we're going to talk about having good clients and how to find them and how to identify the difference between the good and the bad and how to get rid of the bad ones. Creating some differentiation, right? Your niche. What's your niche? What makes you different from everybody else? Well, you know what my niche is, right? And I don't know how it happened, to be very honest with you. I just stumbled upon accounting professionals, and here I am. And we're going to do some elevator pitching. I will do mine. Anybody wants to take a stab at it and do theirs, they're welcome to. You can do it either via the Q&A or the chat, or if anybody wants to jump on, and I don't know if I can even bring up video. I probably can put you on video. Let me see. I think I have to promote you to a panelist to do that, which I have no idea what the outcome of that is. So I think we'll skip it. I'll test it with Angela if anybody's really interested in doing that. And then we're going to talk about confidence. And I brought in a presentation that I've been doing for a long time about building confidence. And I'm going to take you through it and help you understand, half of the battle is confidence. We all struggle with issues related to confidence. Sometimes it's heights, and sometimes it's interaction with people, and sometimes it's stages. It's a variety of different things that affects us as human beings. And if you say that you don't have confidence issues, well, then you are beyond human, because that's what makes us human. There's always something. We're always questioning ourselves, and we go through phases in our life. I run a little website, if you haven't seen already, called unfamilycourt.com. And that's a little joke that I make after I leave family court. Because it's the most unfamily court there is, right? It's not about families. It's about taking families apart and money and all that stuff. And, you know, you look at the people that are going through a divorce in unfamily court. That's what it is for people going through a divorce. And those people are not in the prime of their life. They're not feeling confident, okay? They're struggling with who they are and what they're doing. And, you know, when you're not making money or when your clients aren't happy, or there's a whole variety of different things that could lead you down a path where confidence is going to be affected. And it comes in waves. So we'll talk about how to counteract that. I have a dear family member who I won't mention any names or relations that is going through a breakup right now, and there are some hearts that are being, you know, thrashed about, and I guarantee you confidence is weak, to say the least. So we'll talk about that as well. All right, so let's jump right in. Any questions before I jump right in? Are you all gone? Did you all just leave your desk? You're all bought this thing because you want to learn. If you do miss something, you can watch it again, but I'm really entertaining. So no, I'm kidding. I don't want you to miss anything because there are some bits and pieces in here that are important. And if I do, once again, and a couple of you just joined, if I go through something too fast, please ask me to go over it again. Okay. Are you doing what you love? Meet Anna. Anna is one of my very first ever clients. She hired me to help her build her bookkeeping practice. She only had 1 or 2 clients. She was working in QuickBooks. And I asked her the same question I ask everybody. Anna, do you do what you love? And Anna didn't hesitate like sometimes I get. Anna responded back and said, I quote, "No, I hate QuickBooks. I hate bookkeeping. I hate it." And I asked her, why do you do it? And yes, she gave me approval to share this story. And I said, why do you do it? And she said, well, I don't know, because it's there, because I can, because I know how, because I don't do anything else. I don't know. It's just, you know, why do we do what we do? How many people actually get up in the morning at some point in their life and decide what they want to be when they grow up? You know, we joke about it as kids, but, you know, we fall into things by our experiences. Some of us go to law school, as Angela just finished her first year. Good for you. She's waiting on her grades. She may or may not be going to her second year. I kid. I love you. And you know, there's some of us that may go to med school and very specialized verticals and things like that. But let's face it, a lot of us just kind of fall into a path because of people we meet and opportunities that arise as a result of our lives. So when I continued my conversation with Anna and she said, well, should I get a refund? I said, well, I don't do refunds. I said, but since you are not going to use my services to build your accounting practice, let's figure out what else you want to do, because she wanted to do something. She needed to make some income. She wanted a business that was thriving. And I said, so that's great. What else do you like to do? And what the next thing she said to me was extraordinary, to be frank. She said, well, I have a hobby. I make hair clips for little girls. I said, you do what? I make hair clips for little girls. I said, why do you call it a hobby? I just do it for fun. You know, sometimes I sell them at shows, sell them to family, this and that. I said, Anna, tell me more about this hobby. So what she did is she actually took her computer and she turned it and she showed me her little studio with what I believe are millions of parts, things, molds, cutters, beads, pins, stuff. And she brought the laptop or the screen back to me, and I asked her, I said, hobby or not, you clearly have made a big investment in this. And she says to me, yeah, but I can't see myself building a business out of that. Well, she did. This is Muji Clips. Muji is her daughter's nickname, a mispronounced name of some sort that her daughter, or her, I can't remember the story. It's in the About Us. I told the story many times. You think I'd remember. So she starts telling me more about it, and I came up with 3 pretty good ideas. One is retailers. You can see them up there. She's got a ton of boutiques that now sell her product, and she gets big orders from these boutiques. Then we started marketing. And now this website, which is not the perfect website, I wanted to do it differently, but Anna wanted to do it herself, and she wanted to do it a certain way. So I just coached her along, and she did it herself. She built this herself. And she's been selling online, and she's been selling through the retailers. But once we started marketing and coming up with ways to market, we developed her Instagram account. She had already started it. And today, her Instagram account continues to grow. She has a tremendous number of followers. Let's go check it out. Now, I'm using this as an example for you. See, I've been there before. So she has over 10,000 followers. I think we had 300 when I started working with her. And what's really cool about this is as you scroll through this, you can see the time and the commitment that Anna has put into this. Now, I want you to all forget Instagram, although there may be a way. But think about what Anna did here. She took something that does make sense for her business, and she mastered it. Notice there's a child, a little girl, with a hair clip in opposing sides, and then in the middle, there's a pattern here. And notice how the coloring, and notice how every picture is just beautiful. Well, guess what? They've all been taken on an iPhone. She does minor touch-ups, works with somebody on like Fiverr or something like that, spends very little money. Another one of my ideas was to add these little tags here and there. And then one of the coolest things ever, look at this business. I mean, this was a hobby. And now it is a dream come true. So one of the things that we did that was really exciting, she said to me, I spend money and time marketing, and I get a sale of a couple of clips, $4 or $5, $10, $20. How do I make that happen over and over and over again? And you all know me and astute of me, and you know that we are a subscription-based business. So we created ClipScript. And ClipScript is a way for Anna to get people to sign up and get something every month for a fee. And it's just growing and growing and growing. So all of these things took time and effort. And she runs her family, and she cooks for the holidays, and she runs back and forth to pick up kids, and still found a way to do all this stuff pretty much on her own. And she makes a heck of a living now. So when you look at this, I want you to translate what you see here into what you're doing right now. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody here that they should quit their job or change their profession, unless you're starting to realize that you've made the biggest mistake of your life and you should have never been in that profession. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is get you, and Anna is an extreme. What I'm trying to do is get you to make your business something you love, something that fits you, something that makes sense. This is Tim. He's a CPA. This guy's smart. He passed a CPA test right out of college. Boom, just like that. Went right to it, did it, got out. There's more on that in a moment. So when Tim asked me, he said, you know, Eric, you talk about differentiation and a niche, and and all that. I said, yeah, well, that's great. I said, but what I really want you to do is love what you do. I said, what do you love? And two of the things that came to mind were coaching basketball and food. He loves organic quality food and what have you. And I said to Tim, I said, you know, that's cool. I don't think the food thing is necessarily going to play out, although we tried. But then we came up with this great idea called slam dunk accounting. It fits for the business. It fits for Tim. And that smile that Tim's got is a result of him truly loving his business. I love that he loves his business. Now, the best part about this whole picture is his daughter helped him do it. They built it together, and I helped him finish it. We're working on replacing the basketball with one that isn't spinning, or actually maybe literally spinning. But this is what he came up with, and this is the beginning of his website at Slam Dunk Accounting. Now, I said to you earlier that Tim really focuses a lot on test taking. Obviously, he's good at it. He's just blew away his CPA exams. And I asked him how he did that. And one thing led to another. And because this is what Tim loves, he is now an author, and we're working on a course, how to pass the QBO exam. Because at the end of the day, Tim at Slam Dunk Accounting, and you can see Tim and Slam Dunk and all of that in this, right, with the basketball court and Tim and so on and so forth. And he's going to take what he loves, accounting, passing tests, and he's really good on camera, and he wants to be a basketball coach. Well, he's going to be an exam coach instead. You see how we brought that all full circle to fit Tim? Now, the reason why that is great is because it brings Tim pleasure. It makes him happy. It makes him feel better about his business. He knows who he is. It's easier to pitch somebody when you know who you are. It's easier to tell your story when there's a story to be told. So that's the perfect opportunity for me to move on to the next slide, which is talking about brand positioning and telling your story. Now, we could go back to Tim's slide, and we could talk about that for a long time. But I'm going to be a little more selfish with this, and I'm going to use my brands because I know and I understand them really well. With the exception of unfamilycourt.com, which is a temporary logo, although it's kind of sticking. What do you see consistent over my companies? There's 74 System, there's a Studemy, there's the Ignite program, there's the Ignite method. There's something consistent across all of them. And that consistency, here, I'll put it in chat for you, is this. Does anybody know what that is? Yes, I am testing to see if you're paying attention. Very good. Go on. Anyone else? Anyone else want to add to that? Red eye in the middle. Okay, well, yeah, that's where it is. That's right, the red color. That's right. So red has lots of different variations. This is a hex color. This is there's many ways to denote colors. One of them is using this hex, six numbers, combination of letters and numbers, with a hashtag in the front. And this is mine. Now, ironically, it was DD3333 for the first year, and I realized that color was not me. The red that I wanted was CC3333, and I had to go through and change all of my logos at one point to fix that. I also have a green and a blue and a gray. And you'll also notice on this screen, what's very important is that I have, and I've shown it to you here, I have logos that fit on black backgrounds, on white backgrounds, on reverse, in blocks, in squares, and laid out over a space. So if we focus on the 74 Systems logos, why do I have two variations. Does anybody know? Give you guys a second to think about that. Why do I have two variations? Why do I have a square one, and why do I have an elongated logo? You can answer in Q&A or you can answer in chat, whichever you're more comfortable with. Looks like you guys are having fun in chat. So you're either writing a large answer and it's taking a minute, fit in different mediums. Okay, so let me explain that. That's exactly correct. We all know that from time to time, we're asked to use a profile image, and that profile image is generally a square or a circle. And do I have a 74 systems with more padding so that if it's a circle and it crops my image, it's going to show all of it? Yes, of course I do. I have a variety of different ones. I have transparent, I have more padding, I have square. So this is my brand. This is, and I'm talking about the mechanics of it right now before I move on to the actual why I use this brand, because I want you to see both sides of that, right? So when you talk about 74 systems and you see the different designs and you understand the formats and you understand transparency versus block versus, well, I mean, it's real simple. There's JPEGs and there's PNGs. PNGs can be transparent and JPEGs are not. And I'm trying to demonstrate that here for you. So now that you kind of understand that, let's talk about why my brand is 74 Systems. Does anybody know? Angela, don't answer. Does anybody know why we're called 74? I think the best way to do this would be, if you do want to type an answer, type yes or no so that I know. Very good. So that I know you're typing, and then I'll let you complete. That way we can get a quick answer. Okay, so yes, the temp where I live, the average temperature of my town. Now, year of birth. I wish. That's good though. That would have been a good story too. But the story is deeper than that. And the reason why it's not the year of my birth is because I started a company to run TEDx American Riviera. And I did that because I had two partners and we had a lot of money coming in. And we wanted to make sure that that money was in a proper account and it went through a business and there was proper accounting. So we thought, well, we're doing TEDx American Riviera, which is the trademark name of Santa Barbara, American Riviera. And we wanted to create a company shell to do this. And the first thing that came to mind was we could call it American Riviera LLC. And we thought, you know what, that's not cool. So we started researching what's unique about Santa Barbara, and we came up with a lot of different things. But the one thing that we liked the most, and this isn't actually a fact, I can't even remember where we got it, but we came up with the notion, the feeling in our guts from all the research we did, and generally just because it is generally 74 degrees in this town. Now, I'm sorry for those of you that live in colder temperatures. I apologize. But yeah, about 74 degrees. So we called the company 74 Degrees LLC. After that company ran its course and we did 3 TEDx American Rivieras, I took over the LLC to use for my business, and I created 74 Marketing. 74 Marketing was a business for helping clients like yourself grow their practice. And one day I got a call from one of my clients who was angry at me, and she said, "You have made my life miserable. I now have 300 customers thanks to you, but I don't know how to manage them. Help." And that's when we switched from 74 Marketing to 74 Systems, because we added the workflow piece. Does anybody notice anything different today about my logo? 74, I'm referring to that one. Let me know if you guys find it, if you notice it. I won't tell you what it is just yet. So that's the history of my company. And the fact that there's a history and a story, it's important, right? Because when we start to talk about it and we start to share it, We need to be able to tell the story. And because 74 Systems is about helping people market and acquire clients, naturally, the Ignite program was created as one of our products. And, you know, we went down this path of calling everything 74 web, 74 this, 74 that, and I got bored with it. So we now have 74 systems, and we offer the Ignite program. And then we added the Ignite method. And Ignite method purposely doesn't have a the. It's just Ignite method. It's the Ignite program and Ignite method. You'll notice the fonts are slightly different. And that's just so that we catch it. And Ignite method was invented by Angela, who said, you know, I'll bet there'd be a lot of people out there that want a lower cost solution for igniting. And I'll bet you could do a heck of a job doing more of a webinar-based thing and using forums and such. And that's how that got formed. But the important part is seeing the correlation between 74 marketing systems, client acquisition, and igniting. Okay, so then we have a Studemy, which is a completely different animal, but we cross-market with a Studemy. All the emails come from a Studemy, talking about the Ignite program by our sister company, 74 Systems. And while it may seem like a lot, what it does is it provides us with touch points from different directions. I'm going to explain to you the perfect storm of marketing. I had a company once that had a fleet of red and white Mini Coopers with our logo on the side. They were all over Southern California. We also had billboards on the 405 and the 101, I think, or the 110. Big freeways that often go nowhere, bumper to bumper. Anybody that's ever been to LA or lives in a big city, there's nothing like LA. It's awful. There are words we use that I cannot say here about traveling on the 405 and the 101. But in any event, so you've got these fleet of cars that are branded with a logo, and then you've got these billboards and a radio show on CBS. Now, it took a long time to build all this stuff and get this company going. But that little car became an icon. If you went to a particular mini dealership, you would see a big, it looked like a pit, and it was called the Make It Work Pit Stop. And if you went to this dealer, you would see a line of flags that said Make It Work Minis, you know, drive here. And it was our special lane designed for coming in for service. And they did it to promote us in exchange for what, you know, we bought all our cars from them. And it helped promote Mini as something neat, you know, just like the Red Bull Mini and a variety of other ones. We used to hang out with them. They used to come to our office. So we now have the Mini Coopers driving on the freeways. You've got a dealership with a pit stop. You've got a billboard, which at one point was going to be Clippers players sponsored. We were going to sponsor them, LA Clippers. And then you finally have the radio show. Now, here it comes. Here's the perfect storm. And this is what's important about marketing and where I was going with this, because all of the different touch points, whether it be a message on Facebook or an email or something within one of our webinars promoting the product, I'm not 100% sure how it all comes together. Nobody will ever know, because so many different things happen in proper marketing, and this is very important for you. So the perfect storm is when somebody's driving in their car on the 405, 5 miles an hour, bumper to bumper, and on the other side, one of our red Mini Coopers drives by. A couple minutes later, one of our red Mini Coopers is sitting next to them, side by side, bumper to bumper, hopefully not on his cell phone with his hand, getting in trouble, or texting. Got a couple of those calls. And they look up, and there's a billboard. And they look down at the car, and they look up at the billboard, and they're like, wow, that's crazy. And then they keep driving, and all of a sudden, it's Saturday. Tech news comes on CBS, sponsored by Make It Work, and the Make It Work CTO is the voice of the show. And it's 877 Make It Work, and yada, 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 yada. And then they take their BMW, into service, because that's where they were going, and they see this pit stop of Mini Coopers at the BMW Mini dealer. And finally, they pick up the phone and call us and say, hi, I'm going to call you to give you some money because your marketing is so good. I don't even need your service right now, but something is telling me I'm going to, because it's computer problems, technology, and I can't escape you. Okay, now that's the perfect storm. But if you get where I'm going with it, you're building this brand and building a story that's hitting from all areas. So when the next time you're writing a blog post and you think to yourself, wow, is this really worth my time? It is worth your time because it can live on your blog forever. But it's going to be worth your time if you share it on Facebook and tweet it out to your friends and link to it from other stories and get other people to talk about it, engage in comments underneath it. When all those things start happening, and they start happening over and over again, marketing works. Most of my clients struggle the most with their marketing because they don't do enough of it repetitively. They think a little here and a little there. But when you do a lot, or when you finish it, and I know it's overwhelming. We've got a webinar coming up on Astudemy about it's not that hard to create content. I mean, I do podcasts, webinars, workshops, blog posts, tweets, and I post probably to 30 different networks every single day. Some of it's automated, some of it's not. I mean, I've got, all the equipment to do crazy things. And then I DJ'd on Saturday, I love this stuff. I do more than most people. And you're not going to necessarily be able to do that because you've got to work in your business. But when you do work on your business, or if you can make the investment in having someone help you do it, either hire somebody or train somebody or find extra time, then you're going to start seeing results. But don't give up and tell your brand story. One of my favorite webinars I've ever done on Astudemy is, and these are all my children, is Facebook is more than babies and burritos. And I know a couple of you right now would argue, nah, I don't really want to share my life story on Facebook. And the joke is babies and burritos. And ironically, my son Jackson is eating the tacos that we went to last night after the concert. We're more of a taco family, but we did actually, the burritos are from a woman that actually delivers those to the house. We bought the tamales. But the joke is that you post pictures of your children, you post pictures of the food you eat and the places you go, and you share this information with random people and your friends, depending upon how you use Facebook. And if you've ever noticed, those of you that follow me on Facebook, I don't post a lot of business stuff. Very, very little on my personal Facebook profile, because my story and my brand is me. And if you get to know me, you'll get to know my companies and what my companies offer. Now, I do promote my companies on Facebook in groups and on pages. Pages are where you literally have a license to spam. Anybody who likes a page is going to get hit with that. Okay, that's why you do it. You like somebody's page so that you can find information from them there. And then a group like Abo, which is amazing, which is a great place for people to congregate, ask questions, and for me to market. I own Abo. It's mine. It's ours. But I run it. And I'm the only one who's allowed to market in it, unless I've given other people the ability to do so. So understand, I created Abo, and I never really, when I did it, I was just doing it to build a business. But now that I have Abo, I actually have a webinar on what Abo is to me and why you can have one too. Because I get to share my story in Abo. And some of you have signed up for this because you saw it in Abo. and you probably got an email, and you might have seen it on the page, and you might have got it through a tweet, and probably not Google+, maybe on LinkedIn. I don't think I sent you a postcard, but I probably should have. Perfect storm. You follow? And it's all about that brand. All right, let me do a quick time check here. So timing wise, I was going to run about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. We should be good. Does anybody have a question? It's a great time to interrupt me because I'm going to switch gears here. Okay, we good? We're good. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about, and I could go on and on and on and on about your brand and its story. I could do this all day long, but I want to be able to use it. And you'll hear more about it as we go because it all kind of circulates and comes back to tell the story, like a great Eddie Murphy joke. Do you have enough good clients? I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if you think you have enough good clients, and don't anybody raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. It's impossible to have enough good clients unless you are making the money you want to make and that's enough for you and you don't want to make any more. But if that's the case, I'm pretty darn sure. How do I get to your Abo Facebook site? Oh, you don't know us, do you? Okay, let me see what I can do for you. Hold on. Here's Abo. It's my link, and I will copy and paste this to you. For those of you that are not, oops. Okay, excellent. There is Abo, almost 7,200 members. Okay, so going back to good clients, you know, if you're on this with me right now, you want more clients, and I hope you want good clients. Everybody wants good clients. Because when I show you how I define what a good client is, I think you'll agree. Now, I'm going to show you in a way that is going to probably make you think, well, it's not, you're probably going to want more. You're going to, and I'm not, when I share this with you, I'm not limiting it, okay? I just want to say it this way because at the end of the day, why are we in business? Why are we in business? Okay, yeah, we may love it. I love what I do. But I mean, wouldn't you rather be under a coconut tree right now with your feet in the sand? I know I would. I wouldn't mind doing this with you from there. That's my ultimate goal. When they have internet connections as fast as mine on the island that I'd like to rent, I'll be there. So as I share this information with you, take it for what it's worth. Now, here's some of my clients. And they're great people. It's a good looking bunch. You know these people, right? So there's Carrie Kahn on the far left, Amanda Aguilard. Carrie runs Complete Business Group and Complete Business Partner. Sign up with her partner program. If you sell QuickBooks, slam dunk, she will make you more money. And she is unbelievable to work with. Amanda is a client. She's also my competitor. She does a Zero training course. I've helped her with it. It's called Elephant Training, Elephant with an F. And that guy is Jay Kimmelman. Both Amanda and Jay are Zero superstars. They're part of the Zero crew. And Jay was a client for a long time, and our goal was to make him a brand in the industry. And then all of a sudden, Zero comes along and says, hey, we'd like you to become a Zero ambassador. So he and Amanda are two of those, of the six. And Jay runs his, they're both CPAs. Carrie's actually a CPA also, but she's in hiding. And they both run their practices and work with Zero. And then the lovely woman in the glasses is Lynn Mattice. If you ever see her name, it's Mattice, like ice. She runs a bookkeeping practice. She's a profit first expert. And then there's Tiffany. She's the one that got mad. She's a CPA, just getting her career started. She's the one that got mad at me because I got her too much business. She came back as a second-time Ignite client so that we could fix it. And she got through tax season. So now we're going to try to work on it again. She just keeps growing and growing. So one of the things that Tiffany did, before I go on, so I can share this with you, is Tiffany went onto Facebook and she joined groups that were something she was interested in. And she started making friends, but she wasn't like that realtor that sits next to you at a ball game and starts asking you for your listing before you've even got their last name. She was just friendly with people. She's a hockey mom, so she could go into a group about that. She could go into a group about working moms. She can go into a group about anything she wants. So she goes into the groups and she starts friending people and she starts making new friends on Facebook, because Facebook is more than babies and burritos. And lo and behold, she starts meeting people that become her client. And it worked feverishly well. And then that guy is Tim, Slam Dunk Accounting. You're going to hear more about him. He's an interesting guy. 3 characteristics of a good client. They pay. They like to pay. And drum roll, please, they pay on time. Can I get a yes or a no? Do you agree with me? I know I'm going to expand on it, but at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, right? Because this is business. We're here to work and make money. If not, let's get under that coconut tree and end this, okay? So let me go into the details now. Okay, so they pay. First of all, if the client doesn't pay, what good are they? You can't work for free. Okay, working for free is 2 things. 1, you're not getting paid. That's bad. 2, if you're not getting paid and you're doing work, then it's opportunity cost. You could be doing something else, like maybe going to your kids' sports events or anything. So we all agree on bullet 1, okay? Now let me add a little color and human and emotion to the rest of this. They like to pay. What I really mean by that is they appreciate you. They appreciate the work you do for them. Let's face it, a bad client, slam dunk. It's almost always that you feel underappreciated, right? It's not so much about the money as it is that you just don't think they give a damn. They don't care. You worked extra hours for them. Lynn Mattice, perfect example. Her website got relocated. We built it, it got relocated, and she let it go to this new place. And I told her that I had an option to move it back, and she got busy and maybe the email didn't get there. I don't know what happened, but anyhow, her website got hacked. And she called me frantic. And I said, okay, I'll fix it. And I told her what my rate would be. And you know, I gave her a pretty good deal, but it was pricey because I had to spend a lot of time on it. And I recovered everything and got the hack out of there and cleaned it all, got the hack out of there. That's pretty good. And really got this thing back to life. And she was so happy that in a few hours, the problem was solved. I was texting and communicating with her all along, letting her know what was going on. And then her final text to me was, "It is so nice having someone like you that I can call on, depend on, who communicates well. Send me the invoice, I'll pay it right away." If Lynn called me in the middle of the night and said, help, my website's down, I would go brew a pot of coffee, wake up and help her, because she is a good woman. She appreciates me, she pays, and that is the definition of a good client. Am I right? Let's see if anybody's awake. Are you guys there? All right. No multitasking. Okay. Focus on me right now. You guys are awesome. All right. And then lastly, they pay on time. So when you have to chase a client, the problem that comes with not getting paid on time is that you have to spend more of your time collecting. Now, I did a little finance deal for some of you, but it's on a subscription and it's automatically going to hit your account each month because I don't do invoices. I don't want to deal with that stuff. And quite frankly, in your industry, you shouldn't either. Your clients should be on auto billing and you should be on auto billing paid in advance. Did anybody get the email from Xero that said, we're changing the way we bill you? over the course of the next 6 months, we're going to increase it by 2 months over each period or something until you are paying us in advance, and there'll be no 10-day float or something like that. And I was thinking to myself, wow, they just made a big change in their industry. And then I realized, what took them so long? I mean, nobody is going to question having to pay for a month of zero in advance. Certainly not today. The cloud has changed that. Now, at some point, we're going to talk about pricing, because I know that's super important for all of you. And I just want to make mention now, something for you to think about. We all struggle. I've never met anybody that is just slam dunk, thank you, Tim, on value pricing. It's better than hourly billing in my mind, because hourly billing is a license to steal. If you've ever hired a divorce attorney, you agree with me. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, value pricing is better than hourly billing, but it's still got its flaws. Now, you're getting paid on time, which is what brought me to think about this. But are you getting paid for the time you're spending, and is it right? And are you able to figure that out and really define how much time you have to spend to get it done? I realize that in every one of these pictures, these people are staring at me. It's an awkward place to be stuck when you're doing a webinar. So when people pay you on time, but it's not the right amount, because and you don't even realize it, because you're just getting paid every month. Sometimes you work a few hours, and sometimes you work a half hour, and the half-hour months are better than the few hours. Value pricing becomes hard to manage. I want you to think about my new thing, and it's called fee-based pricing. A percentage of revenue. Maybe I'll write a book. I like it better because each month, and it can be based on the month prior or in arrears, but if you bill for the future month based on the month that just passed, an X% of their revenue for your fee, and if their revenue declines next month, they'll pay less the following. If it goes up, they'll pay more. Because generally revenue is tied to the amount of work that you do. It's not perfect either, but it's definitely better than how much time you're spending on a client that you value priced at X and their business doubled and you have yet to go in and reevaluate it. And worse, we have these scales of sliding scale of 500 to 100,000, or 50,000 to 100,000, or 100,000 to 250, whatever it might be. And that's where I'm going to do my value pricing if you're doing it based on revenue, or it might be number of transactions. And do you count those transactions and then value bill based on that? I don't think it works. So that's a little bit of an aside, but I want to throw that in there because I have a funny feeling some of you are churning that in your mind right now and just saying, wow, that's interesting. You know, yeah, I'm not sure I'm getting paid right on value pricing. If you think you're getting overpaid on value pricing, then eventually that's going to eat you up as well, because people don't want to overpay. They want to be charged fairly. So if you have a percentage of something that changes as it goes, you're going to be in good shape. Okay, so I promised you I'd talk to you about how to get rid of a bad client. Well, the best way to get rid of a bad client is demand they pay on time first, if they're not, and raise their rate. However you're doing your billing and pricing, raise them. Most, if you raise them properly, will drop. You send them a nice email, you say we are raising our rates. You're on our old system and we have to charge you X. Now, God forbid they don't care, and all it does is actually make them even worse of a client because now they're paying more. So you try that for a month or two, and if it doesn't get them to move on, normally it will, but you need to make sure it's enough. If you charge them a 5% increase, they're not going to probably care. If it's a 30% increase, they're probably going to see it. If it's a 50% or 100%, they're probably going to go. And they're going to say one last mean thing to you before they exit. Bye-bye. Good riddance. Okay. Another way is to tell them that you're changing your focus on your business and you're moving in a different direction, and that you're going to be selling off part of your business, or that you're going to be moving into a different focus and you won't be providing the service. That's a great way to do it. And then the third way, which is the way I would do it, is send them an email and say, this relationship isn't working out. I would like to terminate it, but I want to do it properly. You can find somebody new and I will help transition. Generally, that person, if they are a grumpy goat, will just tell you to, get lost, and you move on. Now, some people don't like that confrontation, which is why I gave you the other two, but I like to just cut to the chase. My clients, believe it or not, have had me help them fire people. And it can be ugly. I mean, firing people is no fun, particularly employees. I've had people throw things. I've had somebody threw their car keys into the bushes. I've had people jump on desks. They get grumpy. But usually when somebody is angry, when they're leaving your company, it's because they deserve to be going. They did something. You catch somebody with their hands in the cookie jar, stealing or doing bad things, and you fire them. I'm talking about an employee now. Or a client that doesn't pay you, and you fire them. They're going to be grumpy because they don't feel good about themselves in the first place. So you just got to take that with a grain of salt. Okay? Whew. I'm going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. Am I boring you? Is this working for you guys? I'm going to need to do a midstream poll. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Great. Wonderful. What do you mean, yep? You're boring me? I'm boring you? I know I'm not boring you. I know you. All right. So I'm excited about this one because I'm here because of it. I mean, this is my story. Okay, so I might be a bit of a narcissist. I talk about myself. No, I don't mean to. I just like to tell my story from my perspective so you can understand it, right? Because I'm trying to help you tell your story. And telling your story, learning from my story may just work, right? So how the heck did I get into the business of marketing for accounting professionals? I mean, I was an IBMer. I ran tech companies. Well, it turns out in all the companies that I've been doing, including working at IBM, let me tell you a quick story about that. At IBM, I once stood up, printed 30 computers, because that was my goal, and I pasted them on a very high-profile manager's door, and this is a big door. And I was in a bullpen of 140 people plus, and I was in shorts. I was a kid in college. I was an intern at the time. And all of a sudden, this manager, Diane, yells out across the bullpen, Eric, or no, I'm sorry. Who did this? And I remember a woman named Kathy stands up over her desk and she looks at me. And I stood up and I said, me. She goes, come here, in front of everybody. She said, what is this? I said, well, those are the 30 computers that I'm going to sell this month. Why'd you put them on my door? I don't know. It just motivates me. I'm going to come up here and check them off every time I sell. She said, so you took it upon yourself to just put these on my door, and that's, you didn't ask or anything? I said, no, sorry. And then she turned to the group and she said, folks, this is exactly what I want to see in this office. And she pulled me into her office, closed the door, and promoted me from an intern to a full-blown IBMer at 20 years old without a college degree. I was going to college. And the reason I'm telling you that story is because every company I've ever built, whether it be tech or whatever it is, it's always been about the marketing. That's one of the niche things about me, technology and marketing. I like to figure stuff out. I like to play with Legos. I like innovating and automating. Accounting professionals? Who would have thought that could possibly happen? Well, the reason it happened is because a guy comes to me who I met at a Twitter conference that I was the promoter of. It was my event with Jeff Pulver, the founder of Vonage, called the 140 Conference at Yahoo. I got Yahoo to give up the space, and my company promoted this thing, and a whole bunch of people showed up. And so I met this guy, I'm not going to mention any names, and he asked me to help him build something, and he offered me a small fee to do some work. And I said, yes. And he paid me in advance. And a month went by and it was working. So he paid me more because I was doing what I do. It didn't matter where I did it. As long as I was happy doing it there, and it turns out it's great, I love it, or I wouldn't be here. And then another month went by, and before long, it came to, this is working, and let's expand our relationship. And that's how School of Bookkeeping began, later Astudemy. Now, that relationship no longer exists, and for those of you that know the story, it happens in life. But at the end of the day, I was now building this informational, educational, lynda.com type website for accounting professionals and business owners. And I thought, interesting, lynda.com, who's sponsored by TED conferences, big money, and was born here in Santa Barbara. And I know Linda and Bruce. This is kind of where I want to go. And this is part of the reason why we didn't continue working together, is I wanted to take it bigger. And long story. So I'm working with accounting professionals, building this educational website, and I start getting asked questions about, you know, Eric, I like how you did that. That's interesting. I like, you know, can you tell me more about the marketing thing? And one thing leads to another, because I had been running 74 Marketing. That's the company that was hired by this person, and that's who owned its interest in School of Bookkeeping, because I was the marketing guy. I was always the marketing guy. I didn't even realize I'm building businesses as the CEO, but my strongest suit was marketing, because that's what I was drawn towards. Some of you are drawn towards the numbers. Some of you are drawn towards the sales. Some of you are drawn towards the reporting. Some of you are drawn towards the technology. Some of you are drawn towards taxes. Some of you aren't. Some love payroll. Some hate it. Once you know who you are and you follow that path to create the niche that you truly want, you just go out and do it. And trust me, I was the CEO of a coffee farm for a few months. He was a client. I was the COO for a famous architect, the guy that turned down Disney to build this amazing place in Detroit. He was a client. He passed away in the middle of the contract. And then I did something else, and I did something else. But I was always doing marketing. I was always doing what I like to do. I just didn't know where it was going to go. And then all of a sudden, all of my clients, either at Astudemy or at 74, are niche accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners. I followed my passion. I followed my dream. And it just happened. So let me ask you this question, because what makes us different is what helps us define the niche we're going to focus on. And it's also going to help other people find us. So feel free, either in Q&A or chat, what makes, do we have someone join us? I think so. What makes you different? How do you differentiate yourself? I'm going to help you in a minute. If anybody wants to jump in and share something, please do. And I'll go on while we're doing it, but please jump in and tell me what's different about you. If nothing, that's okay too, and say that. So these are companies that I've worked on. In some cases, I've actually created the logo or at least the brand. And in some cases, I've just embraced it. And this is just a small handful. So let me explain, and it's not about the logo. This is about the brand. Let me explain what's different about each one of these companies. We've already talked about Tim at Slam Dunk Accounting. And Tiffany, who's Cloud9, her whole Cloud9 thing comes from her history and her past. And what she wanted, it's interesting, is she wanted to kind of fit into what people are used to seeing. And what's the one thing that we all see on a regular basis, whether we're at Xero or at QuickBooks, is the round circle, whether it's blue or green. So that's why that came about. Assertive accounting. What's interesting about assertive accounting is that the person that owns it focuses on point of sale, because that's the thing that gets her excited. So we got her off to a point of sale conference and got her certified in Revel. And assertive is something she is asserting to do. She wants to be more assertive in her life, so it fit her. What's really cool is that the colors are one of her favorite sports teams, college sports team. So she's in that brand. And her differentiator being color, being point of sale, being a brand related to something and a story related to her college background. And then QuickBooks. Well, sounds like QuickBooks wasn't intended to be. But this guy is building a practice around the mentality of really doing things in an extraordinary fashion, like kickboxing, something he loves to do. He also loves to bowl, but that didn't work out. And QuickBooks is, from a brand perspective, is cool. It's easy, it's short, and it has a story behind it. He loves kickboxing, and he teaches it. But how are we going to differentiate QuickBooks? We are going to do things completely different from any other bookkeeping firm on the planet. And you will have to look at QuickBooks.com over the course of the next week to learn more about it, because I can't tell you just yet. Sorry to do that to you, but it's coming and the education will follow. I just can't leak it until it's out. National Bookkeeper was very interesting. This is Jessica Rubin King. And Jessica wanted to be a bookkeeper that helps other bookkeepers. The best differentiator ever. What was different about her business was bookkeepers are her clients. What was fabulous about her business was that when she went to a QuickBooks conference, the people there weren't her competition, they were prospects. Probably one of very few that attend these events that actually see benefit from being there. And because she embraces remote bookkeeping, and because she's working with bookkeepers all over the country that need her help because they're too overwhelmed, and she steps in and helps, she wanted to express that she was national. And National Bookkeeper, it has a new byline, National Bookkeeper. And when she defines herself, and she was taught to do this at the events, a bookkeeper that helps other bookkeepers. We said that over and over again, I think 100 times. And it landed her business directly. And then there's the digital CPA. Jay Kimmelman. Wow, talk about differentiation. First of all, Jay went hardcore zero. Has nothing to do with QBO, except for the colors. Oh, you need to get rid of that green, Jay. 100% zero, and everything that circles zero. He's a CPA with an extraordinary focus on the technology aspect, bridging it all together. The guy uses a Mac. A Mac. I use a Mac, but I'm a marketing guy. We're supposed to. Not a lot of people running QuickBooks shops are using Macs. And yet you can. The Mac can run QuickBooks desktop or any web-based product better than a Windows machine in most cases. And it's easy to run virtual machines. I run Windows on my Mac if I need to, but I don't normally need to. So he's Mac, he's technology, he's zero focused. So he became a zero ambassador to further distinguish himself and share his brand. Do you see what all these people are doing? They're all taking a direction that they like that makes them different. Some of you that are here that I've been working with, you're doing the same. Some of you that I hope to work with in the future, we will continue this conversation. But this is the type of stuff that will help you first understand who you are, follow that passion and do what you like, and then be able to tell that, see how it's all coming together like that Eddie Murphy joke, and be able to tell that differentiation story, that niche that you're in, to the niche potential prospect who will understand it because it'll apply to them. When Assertive Accounting pitches somebody on point of sale and that's what they do, it's going to be a lot easier for them to sell their service than somebody who says, I don't really know much about point of sale, but I'm sure I could figure it out because I have a QuickBooks background. I once landed a deal with Bugle Boy Jeans, huge company back in the day. And I was this little tiny Citrix integrator. Now, I was a platinum Citrix integrator after Bugle Boy, and there was only 44 of us in the world out of 10,000 roughly who were not. And this deal got me there, and it was my goal. That was one of the goals that I set. And closing Bugle Boy got me to that platinum level. And all of a sudden, my business took off. I ended up in garage.com and sold the company a few weeks later. And I got into garage.com because I was marketing my business at a trade show that I created called Findex. And the guy from garage.com, Bill Reichert, who was Guy Kawasaki's cohort, comes up to me and invites me to garage.com, which led to selling my business, which led to getting involved in the next business, which led to KPMG coming in and becoming a huge investor. Everything kind of is cause and effect. There's all kinds of connections, right? But in this business model, with the Citrix focus and our desire to become great at it and become a platinum, we got Bugle Boy going head to head against IBM. Now, why didn't IBM win? I would have chosen IBM, I think. I mean, it's IBM, right? They know everything. Okay, maybe we were, and this is where I was going with this, like Assertive, we were focused on Citrix. It's all we really did. It was our whole life, and we were good at it. IBM, they hired Citrix engineers, and they can do it because they have other skills. You see the difference? We were niche, and that led to us getting gobbled up by somebody else. It later became a company that actually took that technology and created cloud-like services, but that's a whole different discussion. So differentiating yourself is very important, and it's going to be a part of your homework. You're going to need to figure out how you're different out there, and we can discuss it on the forums as well. I'm going to have to pick up the pace here, but I want to make sure we get this down. Let me know, do you have an elevator pitch? Are you comfortable with your elevator pitch? Is this, let me know, is it, I guess I could have done polls, but what I really want is for you to share with me, and I don't want you to do your elevator pitch, but I would like to know, do you have one? Do you need one? Do you understand what it is? Do you understand, you know, these are the things that I want to learn from you. So you can share this with me on the forums, or you can ask questions here and post. So to perfect your elevator pitch, obviously the things we just did are important. You need to know who you are and how to tell your story, because this is a very small way to share your story. It's just a little bit of information that will catch somebody's attention. And there are variations of the elevator pitch. There's the short story, you know, if you're only going up from floor 4 to floor 8, because that's the mezzanine, you've only got a few seconds to get it done. If you're going up 30 floors, you got a little more time. And if it's a really tall building, you have even more time. And it doesn't matter if you're in an elevator or an airport or a line at Starbucks. You have to be able to tell your story without hesitation in a natural, comfortable way. And I'm going to tell you something straight up. You don't need an elevator pitch rehearsal if you do what you love and know who you are. I didn't rehearse on purpose. Ready? At Studemy, we help accountants, bookkeepers, and business owners ignite their practice by providing educational tools and resources through an online low-cost website. I could do it a million different ways, but that's what it is. And if I have more floors, I could say we offer video courses, we have webinars and workshops, which are online and engaging and informational, and we record those, and we're building a huge library. We have Radio Ignite, which is filled with inspirational, motivational snippets for engaging in your life and igniting your practice. We've got forums for discussion, Q&A, 24/7, peers and faculty. We have directory business listings. I mean, come on, you can promote your company on a Studemy by putting in your name and brand as a member. That alone is worth what you pay per month. You get one customer a year off of it. It's a slam dunk. Oh, we're at my floor. Hey, anyhow, let me have one of your business cards. Never forget that. It's not about how many business cards you give out. It's about how many you get. Because if you meet somebody in a bar and you're interested in that person and you want to date them and you give them your number and wait for them to call and the phone doesn't ring, you realize, gosh, I should have got their number as well. Even more important in business. Maybe not. At 74 Systems, we help clients find clients through all sorts of marketing. And then once they have a lot of clients or a few, we help them manage both the prospects and the clients through great technology, managing workflow and other processes, and trying to automate and innovate wherever possible to make it easier to manage their day and provide a better quality service. That's pretty good. Glad I recorded that. Unfamilycourt.com, a place for divorcees and victims of divorce at any stage of their life or during the process to go and meet others that share the experience, ask questions, engage, and find great resources like attorneys, bars, and bookkeepers that can help you through the process. What's the Ignite program? And so on. Going through that process is super important if you're not comfortable with it. If you've got to practice, then practice. But I would prefer you back up and do the other things we just talked about, because I know my company and I can pitch it to anybody, anywhere. So should you. Okay, last one. This, at the end of the day, is probably the culmination of everything that we need to know in order to achieve. Confidence can be the thing that keeps you from getting anything accomplished, lack thereof. And we're going to work on that. And we're going to start off by a great quote from one of the greatest coaches ever to live. And the importance of this quote is your mentality and how you shape your life. You can't think about winning that client today. You need to be thinking about everything you do being a winner. You know, there's people out there that constantly fail. And the reason why they constantly fail, and that's where the term loser came out. People that do that, it's because in their minds, they don't believe in themselves and they don't think about winning. If you run a race and your goal isn't to win, and winning may be finishing the race, but if your goal isn't to do something that is an accomplishment for yourself and constantly lift and rise and grow, eventually you're going to get left behind and run over. And that's not the kind of mentality we want to have if we want to have a fun, thriving, wealthy with many things type of a life. Winning is not a sometime thing. It is an all the time thing. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Get it? So let me ask you a question. What scares you? Boo. I forgot that was in there. Is it the camera? When you're in front of a camera, do you get uncomfortable? Does it feel awkward? And I'm talking more the video camera than I am the still camera. When you're on a webcam, are you uncomfortable? I mean, if you look at yourself, you might get more uncomfortable, but you can just turn off that window and just talk. You know how they say dance like nobody's watching? I've seen some people do that recently, but I was watching. Whew, these people couldn't dance well, but hey, they were having fun. More power to them. When you are, Angela's laughing because we just went to a fundraiser and I was the DJ and they were dancing, or so they call it. When you're in front of the camera, it can be tough. And I understand that. And you don't necessarily ever have to be. If being on a webinar troubles you and you want to market your business, don't start there. Start somewhere else. Start by writing. Start by forums and online engagement. Start by sharing through social media. Podcasting, where there is no video, is easier. Try that. Now, ultimately, the biggest fear people generally have is the stage. I remember as a kid being very scared of going up in front of my classroom. I raised $4 million for a company not too long ago in front of a group of people. And the big one had 125, almost all men, in a scary room in Los Angeles in a big tall building. And there was a podium, which today you'll recognize if you've ever seen me speak. I don't stand behind podiums. I like to be moving around and engaged. But they put me behind this podium. Well, thank God they did, because my legs were shaking for the first couple of minutes. And then I realized why I was there, the importance of it, what I was there to do, and who I was, what I was selling, what this company was. I believed in it so strongly that shortly thereafter, I just got it done and I fell into my groove. So if you're afraid of the stage or the camera, here's a great recommendation for you. Don't start off with your most important pitch. If it takes you 30 seconds, a minute and a half, maybe 5 minutes to warm up, most of the time, you'll get more comfortable in your skin and on the stage as time goes by. So start with something a little lighter. You know the introduction I do today, the workshop primer? That part isn't core content. So it doesn't really matter if I'm on my game yet. Now we're coming to the end of this and I'm starting to feel it. I'm hungry. You know, you're hungry. We're tired. We've got stuff to do. Our phones are buzzing. But I put what's important in the middle and I'll leave it at the end to make sure you all know what to do. So keep that in mind. Put it in order that makes sense for how you behave. Does making a mistake scare you? Look, if you're not making mistakes, there is absolutely no way you're achieving anything. Just remember this. Don't make the same mistake twice if you can avoid it. Failure, you know what mom says? You're only a failure when you give up. Because you screw something up or make a mistake doesn't make you a failure. Failure is from saying, I'm done with this. I can't do it. You ever hear kids say that? Oh, it makes me crazy. Yes, you can. Get back up and kick the ball. Kick it until the game is over. And if you lose, you go down kicking. That is so important. Does your family scare you? Mine did sometimes. My dad was tough. Today I look back at it. He passed away, but I look back at that and it's different. And I would have handled it differently, knowing what I know now. But there are times where it's harder to deal with certain family members. And you know what? Don't. Friends are the same way. And one of the things that bothers me is I see people from time to time avoid parenting because they're scared that they'll lose the love or the devotion of their children, and it turns their kids into tyrants. It's tough. It's a juggling act. And then there are parents that you watch them behave in such an amazing manner, and it's extraordinary. And you just say, I need to be more like them. For me, being a strong parent should be a requirement. Does success scare you? You know, we talked earlier about people that fail a lot. This is probably the ultimate end game. So if this scares you, you've got to solve for this, because if you don't, you will never get there and you will fail. You will make more mistakes. So define your success, and it doesn't have to be at the very top. Define your success as getting from point A to point B, something achievable and realizable. Achieve that goal and then raise it. When I was at IBM, I was taught to sell a computer. Then I was told to sell 5 computers, and then it was 30. And then there's big machines. You start somewhere and you grow and you get comfortable. Don't go out and try to sell something that is out of reach, that you've never sold before, because if you fail, it's going to bring you down a notch. Okay? So build and set goals that are achievable so that you can ultimately define what success means and get over being scared. You know, this next picture I used in a different event, so I had to share it with you. And it doesn't mean I feel one way or the other, but it's just really funny. I think the answer to this question is really simple. We'll move on. So getting yourself set, right? Like this morning, I have my favorite hat on. That's how I roll. I have a t-shirt on that says that. I have lots of these t-shirts. I buy these t-shirts just for my web and webinar and webcams and whatever it might be, because this is my thing. My office is set up to do this. So being ready for that is important. Sometimes I have a beard. I mean, that's who I am. But make sure you take the time to be who you are. I have a client that's a rock and roller, and she didn't want anybody to know it. Well, we fixed that because that's who she is, and she needs to be who she is, and people will be attracted to that. Another Vince quote: the quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to the commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. So think about that. Direct proportion. Your life will be better if you commit to being better. I absolutely believe that, folks. Staying positive, even when it's the worst. Oh, there's things that just bring you down. I went to a Grateful Dead, not actually, it's the whatever it's called with John Mayer. And I went to this concert, and you know, you look back at this and you think about all the peace and love and happiness. You know what? They're right. Stay positive. I've got a friend who's a total deadhead. She's the nicest human being ever. No matter what you say to her, she brings out a positive way of looking at it. And she just seems happy. Stay positive, even when it's really hard. And when you're not, stay away from people. Go for a walk, take a break. This one I think is probably the biggest and most important of them all. You've got to know your stuff. Learning and knowing and having the knowledge is going to bring you confidence, because then when you speak, you will be ready to roll. When I started today, I knew exactly what I was going to talk about, and I wasn't worried because I have done this for a long time and I've got a lot of experience and I know what I'm talking about. And that's how I got through it. Unless a person believes in themselves and makes a total commitment to their career and puts everything they have into it, mind, body, and heart, what's life worth? It's a good one. This guy's genius. I mean, think about that, right? Think about that. Why bother if you're not going to be great? This is what I was talking about earlier with setting the bar to something that you can achieve so that you reach that sense of accomplishment and then raise it. I'm going to demonstrate this one. Know who you are and just be that person, whether you like it or not. Fix the bad ones though. Who am I? I tend to be loud, maybe a bit chatty. Sometimes I'm really pumped up, a little hyper. Moderately handsome. Angela would argue more than that, but for me, that's where I'm comfortable. Sometimes I'm cool, but I'm always a geek. Pretty good self-assessment, right? Okay, here's more. I'm also smart. I'm a great parent. I'm a good partner. I've had success. Oh, but I've had failure. And I've had success. I'm not afraid to share that with you here because that's who I am and I know it. The good and the bad. And when you embrace that and recognize who you are, it'll change your life. Oh, and by the way, if you got it, I have a huge mess over here from the DJ event. I can't wait to start working on that. It's driving me nuts. Make your desk space work for you. Clean it. I have a spritz to clean my screens. And just, I like to have things orderly. It's so important. It'll help you through your day. You can't be great if you're disheveled. If you notice, I talk into the camera. That's so important, okay? My chest is out because it's more comfortable, actually. My lower back hurts sometimes, but also it's important to look people in the eyes. When you shake hands, we used to teach our employees how to do this. Shake hands with vigor. Shake hands like you really mean it. Don't complain about how life is treating you and how hard it is. Just shut up and do it. There's so much that we need to just conquer. Yeah, it's hard for everybody. I promise you, we're all sharing that same thing. Some have it a little easier than others, no question about it. But just focus and get it done. Oops. Try again. Keep going. Remember what Mom said. And Vince. It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. And I add to that what you do next. That concludes Module 1. Who are you? Don't go away yet, though. Module 2, Taking the Leap. Next week, 11 a.m. I'm going to create a forum to discuss the times. It seemed to work pretty well. We had some people that didn't show up, which is a bummer. But if this is a good time for you or not a good time, I will create a forum so that we can openly discuss it there. Okay, homework. Instead of doing this here, I'm going to take us back to the forums, and I want to explain, make sure you guys know how these work. First of all, when you're logged out, you won't see certain things, so you have to make sure you log in. Super easy. The login is up here, or it'll be underneath here when you're logged out. But the forums are the gist of what we're going to be doing here. And you'll notice that there are the general discussion area. If you just can't find a better place, put it there in general questions, If it's about the site itself or administrative, use this one. If it's general, here. But I really want you to try to keep your questions inside the discussion forum of the related modules. So we're in module 1. So I want you to click on this discussion and add your topics there. So when you click on that, it'll allow you to add a topic here, and you can put in a title and then details. And if you want privacy, just click on the private topic and only you and I can see it. Okay? All right. And then if you click subscribe to this topic, you'll get an email every time it's updated. Now back to the beginning, you'll notice we have, this is locked, the agenda and the meeting link. The homework is currently, meaning you can't add any comments here. It was just for you to get to this link. And that's the way I'm going to do it each time. There'll be an agenda meeting link, and you'll just go there and click on it, and it'll be super simple. And then the homework will be in here, and here's your homework. And it's no big surprise this time. And it's going to get more interesting, I promise. But I want to kind of give you guys a breather in the beginning, and I want to make sure we're doing this right. So I want you to take each one of these questions, and I want you to write to me. And I don't care if you write, I don't care if you podcast, I don't care if you video, I don't care how you do it. Impress me. Put a video on your website and put a link to it here if you want. I don't care how you do it. If you just want to write it, that's fine. So what you do is you leave a reply down below and you put this, copy this, my homework assignment, module 1, and then put your first and last name. You can leave it public if you want, or you can make it private. And in this case, you'll have to make it private afterwards. Yeah, you have to submit it first, then you come back and make it private, I think. We'll have to test that. So I want you to answer each one of these questions. Are you doing what you love? And I want details. I want you to explain to me why or why not. Then I want you to tell your story. Okay, tell us about your company. Tell us how you're different. Why did you wake up and do this? Why are you an entrepreneur? Are you? Do you have enough good clients? Tell us about 3 of your good clients. And if you want to tell us about a couple of bad ones, go ahead. You don't have to name them in real life. Tell us about your niche. Tell us how you're different. This is big, okay? Type your elevator pitch and go for it, okay? If you want to do, and this is where I was talking about 3 floor, 20 floor, 100 floor. But listen, if you want to record it and put it up there, go for it. I think you can actually upload a recording. If not, you can email it to me. There's a variety of ways. And if you need technical help, just ask. This down below here on Ignite support, when I'm logged in, you'll be able to see me logged in. It'll say live. If not, you can just put in your message and that'll send an email and it'll create a ticket. But let's try to use the forums where possible. If something's not working and you need to communicate another way, that's there as a backup. I will see you next week for Module 2, Taking the Leap.